So today, I'm thrilled to be welcoming Michael Mewborn here in our new virtual way of doing artist talks. Thank you, Michael, for sharing your work and allowing us to put on this absolutely fantastic exhibition at Riverviews Artspace. So thank you, Michael.
Okay, thank you, Brooke, for all your hard work. Without you, this wouldn't have happened. And thanks, Meg, for setting everything up as well. And I'm sure Kim had some involvement in this somewhere along the line, so thank her too. And also for the kind comments that you just made, Brooke, in introducing me. So now I'm open to questions.
Michael, you are an absolute treasure here at Riverviews, and you have been a treasure here at Riverviews for a very long time. So we are just thrilled to be able to show your work. Okay, my question for you is, when you sent me your list of artwork, it was a very specific list, and obviously a well thought out list. My question is, why did you choose the artwork for this exhibition?
Well, when you informed me that you were going to allow me to show here, I went through my inventory of work and tried to pick the biggest variety of the kinds of work that I do, and also that that showed a lot of what I'm trying to accomplish in my artwork. So these works here represent different phases of what I've been trying to do over the years. So
could you tell us a little bit about what that is that you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish?
I am fascinated by our visual perception, the feedback that our brain receives from the eyes, and that it interprets into whatever we're seeing. And I want the eye to see more. I want the brain to interpret more than the eye sees. So I try to put more into the paintings than the eye itself can examine, and sort of tease the brain a little bit using techniques that I learned about when I was looking at the Gestalt visual perception principles. And anyway, I just use those to try to present an image that is way more than the visual.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it is fascinating how much our retina takes in, but how much is edited out by the time it reaches our brains.
Right.
I mean, it really is, it's pretty phenomenal how much is taken in, but how much we actually see. Could you tell me a little bit about your color palette?
Okay. I don't mix colors. I paint straight out of the tube. So that's one thing. I don't have a specific palette. I pick colors, I guess, as an instinct. I don't have any scientific way of doing it. And I pick colors because I think they might work well together. And I pick colors sometimes because I think they might have to fight it out a little. And that adds to whatever it is I'm doing in that particular painting. You know, it could be that I'm setting up a conflict between colors, between shapes, between a number of things to encourage excitement. So I really don't have a set palette. So
I love to hear that, because you know, I've done all of the research, of course, and the reading on color theory, but I truly believe that color is intrinsic on all of us. And if we trust our instincts, they won't steer us wrong when it comes to choosing color. So
sometimes I'll pick something and I'll be working with it, and I said, no, this is not going to work. So I'll paint over it. But that's most of the time I stick with what I decided in advance.
Oh, that's fascinating. And how much advance work do you do on these pieces? Do you really kind of do a lot of preliminary sketches before you just put it right? Oh.
I don't do any sketching, but I plan it all in my head. Sometimes a long time in advance. It's kind of like what if I do this, or what if I do that, or I explore things mentally before I commit them to canvas or whatever. So by the time I get to the canvas part, I know pretty much what I'm going to do.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, I got to ask this question. I love your titles. Do the titles come first? Do they come during your process, or do they come when you're finished with the painting?
Yes.
Yes.
Sometimes the title is first, and sometimes it's last, and sometimes it has to be dragged out of me because I can't think of anything else. So, but a lot of times it'll be suggested to me by something like rain stick. Is that here?
Yeah.
Okay, rain stick. I did that painting and I didn't have a title for it. So one time we were in Myrtle Beach in an Africa shop, and then in the corner was a vase full of rain sticks, and I picked one up and I turned it over, and when I heard that sound, I said, oh, that's my painting right there. That's what it is. So sometimes it comes to me like that.
Okay.
Sometimes it comes from a song I like, or a book. You know, there's a number of things.
Now, have you ever had a painting in which you title and then you live with it for a while and you're like, well, that's not your name. I need to change your title. Have you ever had that happen?
I can't think of a time. I do have one painting that I did. It's not in this collection, that is still called Untitled because I have never been able to put a name to it. So.
Oh my goodness. Okay, could you please tell us a little bit about why you chose the title Spider Dreams for this exhibition?
Well, as I explained in various ways, someone at one of my shows, in fact, I get this all the time, but this is not art, or you call this art, or whatever. But anyway, he said, this is not art. And I said, well, why not? And he said, because an art is supposed to be, a piece of art is supposed to suggest a setting or something that you can relate to. He said, yours is just a bunch of colors and patterns. And I said, well, let's just suppose for a while that it's a little cabin in the woods somewhere. Can I paint that? And he said, oh, sure, that's what I'm talking about. And I said, and in that cabin, several rooms, one of which is a kitchen. Can I paint the kitchen? He said, oh, yeah, sure. And I said, well, in the kitchen, there's a refrigerator. Can I paint the refrigerator? He said, sure. And I said, and over the refrigerator is a spider web back in a corner. Can I paint that? And he said, yeah. And then I said, and in the middle of that spider web is the spider that built it. Can I paint that? And he said, well, yeah, but I don't know why you'd want to. But, and I said, and that spider is very proud of the web that he built, and he's taking a nap after his hard work. And when I'm painting, is what he's dreaming. And the guy just shook his head and walked away. So anyway, that was, when you asked me for a title, that came back to me, Spider Dreams. I'd never used it before, so there it was.
I had just had to have you tell that story. This is a tough question. I know this is a tough question. Do you have a favorite piece that's hanging in the exhibition and why?
Can I say all of them?
You can't absolutely say all of them.
A lot of times it depends on the day. I might have a favorite today and a different one tomorrow. I really like the Boogaloo down Broadway. I like that one a lot.
Was that one by any chance inspired by Mondrian? I had to ask that question. No. Broadway Boogie?
If you look at that, there's a lot of illusion there. One is that there are parallel lines there, which aren't. I wanted something that was very dimensional, and since everything that I do starts with the grid, and it goes out from there, but I wanted it to be very grid-like, but not a regular grid, and I wanted it to be dimensional, and that's where that came from. And the funny thing is, I mean, it looks like a building to me. And we were in New York one time and getting on the Staten Island ferry, and right there at the foot of Broadway is a building, and the building looks almost identical to that. But I had already titled it and everything. So my wife pointed out, she said, "That's one of your paintings." And I said, "Doggone, you're right." Anyway, so.
Oh my goodness, that's absolutely fantastic. Could you talk a little bit about the importance of the grid? There are so many artists who do start with the grid, but then expand off of the grid. What is it about the grid that is your starting point?
The grid represents the simplest geometric form that I can think of. And it offers great opportunities because at the intersection of each pair of lines, there's a place for a decision to be made. And just like if you're walking down the street and you come to an intersection, you can go straight or you can turn left, you can turn right. So you have a decision at each intersection. To me, that's the same thing with the grid, that I use each crossing point as a decision, whether to put a shape there, leave it like it is, a number of things. And I make that decision by random selection, which is, in my mind, it's a metaphor for life, because you walk along, you're doing anything, you're thinking about whatever, and suddenly a police car goes by with the siren on, and that changes what you were thinking about, and it's not something you expected to happen, but it is within the realm of possibilities. So, but if you were walking along thinking about something and were charged by a bull elephant, not only is that unexpected, but that's not within your realm of expectations either. So, I mean, there's a greater reaction to that. So what I try to do is leave the decision on what to do at a given intersection up to chance, which is a random thing. So I decide what the possibilities are for each intersection, and I assign that a number between 1 and whatever, and then I go to the internet at a place that creates random numbers, and I have it create a table of random numbers. I use that random table to decide at each intersection what to put. Sometimes it might be different size circles or squares, or a selection between circles and squares, whatever. And then I come back in, I have picked my palette of colors, and I assign each color a number, and I generate another random table, and I use that to produce the colors in the, I want the colors to be, not be representative of my thoughts on what I've already done. Because after, you know, you go along and you paint, and you say, oh, I've used a lot of that color. I'm going to use something else for a while or whatever. This way, by random selection, I'm not guided by experience or anything. I'm guided strictly by some anonymous number generator in a computer somewhere.
Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. So, in what we often call that systems drawing, and I've seen it more done with drawing with painting, and of course we have John Cage who used systems to create his work as well. I didn't know you had a little system going there. So,
oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Very much so.
And I actually love doing systems because it's also, as artists, we tend to be some of us tend to be a little controlling, and when you have a system, you have to let go of that control and do what the system dictates.
Yeah.
So
and that's deliberate. I have controlled what the possibilities are, but not the ultimate outcome of it. So, I mean, it's within my universe of expectations, is what I call it. But I have no control over the details of the final creation. So.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, I got one more question for you, and then I will leave you alone for a little while. Are there artists that you look at for inspiration or ideas, or what kind of art do you like to look at that's other than your own?
I love the art of MC Escher and of some of the surrealists. I like Salvador Dali and many of the other surrealists, because those, once again, are the things that are there's more in the image than meets the eye. You know, there's a lot of interpretation that needs to be done. There are many of them, but Vasarely, Victor Vasarely. I can't call names right now because I just can't come up with them, but there are a number of them. And I love Frank Stella, and I've admired the work of Robert Rauschenberg, which is a little bit different from mine. Klaus Oldenburg, and they're just a number of things. I like art in most of its forms. I'm not as keen on still lives and landscapes and all. I think they're fine. There's no criticism or anything like that. I mean, but to me, a photograph can do the same thing, and I just don't choose to work in that direction. But I don't look at any of them for inspiration. I admire what they do, and I look at what they've done, their progression of artwork, and think about what I'm doing and my progression of artwork. But I don't really look for inspiration there.
Well said. Okay, I'm not going to bug you anymore. Okay, Meg, did this, any questions from you?
No, it was just so nice to get some more information on how it's all made, especially with the random number generations. It's really cool. Never expected that to be another element of this. So
I've been doing that at first. Well, when I first started doing this, there were no computers.
Right.
I used coin tosses. I used dice. And of course, dice give you very interesting possibilities because each number does not have an equal opportunity to appear. So there are lots of ways to roll a 7, and only one way to roll a 2, and no way to roll a 1 if you're using more than one dice. But anyway, the randomness is something that I've been doing for many, many years. In fact, years ago when I used to do outdoor shows, I ran into a guy who worked at GE in Roanoke and was talking to him about that. And he said, well, you know, we have a computer. If you'd like, I'll send you some tables of random numbers. And I said, sure. And he sent me a big, thick packet of random numbered tables. And I think I still have those. I used them for a long time. So.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Michael, for sharing all of that and answering all of Brooke's questions and sharing your artwork with us. I will say that doing Artist Talk virtually has been quite a learning curve for everyone, but you did a great job. And I'll just tell anyone, for the viewers watching, that you can find Michael's whole exhibition on our website, and they can make appointments to schedule to see it through July and August on our website, riverviews.net.